And welcome back. So we're going to be going over lesson 3, the distributive property today. Just to recall from exponent laws for multiplying, when the bases are the same, you just add the exponents together. So when you have distributive property, right, there's a few steps that you need to do. When given a term such that there's a number before the bracket with terms inside, do the following. Multiply each term in the bracket by the number in front of the bracket individually and collect the like terms. Right, and this kind of seems a little bit confusing, but I'll show you what this looks like. So say we have here 2 bracket 3x plus 5 bracket, right? Inside here we have 1, 2 terms. So we want to distribute, which is why this is called distributive property. We want to distribute this 2 to this, and we want to distribute 2 to the 5. When you say that it's 2 in the bracket, you're multiplying everything inside that bracket by the number outside of it. Very simple, and once I show you how to do this, you'll understand. So it says multiply each term in the bracket by the number in front. So how I like to write this is I like to write it as, we have 2, 3x plus 5. And I'll do this in a different color. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute the 2 to the 3. So I'm going to do 2 times 3x. Then I know that there's this plus in the middle, and I'm not really going to do anything with that plus. I'm just going to distribute that there. Then I'm going to distribute the 2 and the 5. So I'm going to say 2 multiplied by 5. Now, the 2 is multiplying every term in that bracket individually without anything else. So I'm going to say 2 times 3x. If we look at our exponent laws, we know that's the coefficients are just 2 and 3. So it's going to become 6. And since there's no x there, we're just going to leave it as 6x. Okay? Plus 2 times 5 is going to be 10. So it's 6x plus 10. That's my answer. Then you just collect like terms and simplify. There's no like terms here, so we're just going to leave it as 6x plus 10. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So let's try a more complicated one. Now we have a 3x times 2x squared minus 4x plus 5. This is a trinomial. Try because there are how many terms in here? 1, 2, 3. So basically you're going to multiply the 3x by every term. So I'm going to write the 3x as this blue. Actually, let's write it as 10 to keep it consistent with our last one. And maybe now we'll use green. 2x squared minus 4x plus 5. So remember, terms are separated by pluses and minuses, right? So then we're going to do 3 times 2x. So 3x times 2x squared, right? So that's going to be in its own little bracket. Minus I'm just going to put this back as 3x times 4x, and that's going to be in its own little bracket. And you can just leave the minuses alone for now, right? Plus, I'm just going to change this back to green. Okay, plus 5 is over there, and we need to make sure we're multiplying the 3x. 3x 5. And that's going to be in its own little bracket. Okay? So let's just do that. So you have 3x, right? 3x times 2x squared, right? So we're going to do 3 times 2, which is going to give us 6. X times x squared, which is going to give us x cubed, right? And I would just leave this in the brackets for now. Minus, we have 3x times 4x, so we know that 3 times 4 is 12. X times x is x squared. And we're just going to leave that in a bracket. Plus, so I'm just going to do the pluses and minuses like that. Plus, we have 3x times 5x, right? So we're going to do, and remember, this is a positive 12 here. 3x times 5x is going to give us 15x, right? So now let's just make this without the bracket. So it's going to be 6x cubed. Minus and a plus is just going to be a minus. 12x squared. Plus and a plus is just plus 15x. We can't simplify this any further. And the reason being is because we don't have any like terms that we can collect here, right? Everything has a different exponent on it. We're not multiplying anything. We're not dividing anything else. It's just addition. So this is the simplest it can get. Okay, so pause this video. What the distributive property is we're putting lesson 1 and lesson 2 together, right? We're taking, okay, what do we do when we have to multiply, collect those like terms? Then what do we have to do when we divide? When we add and subtract, which like terms do we need to collect, right? So try doing example 1 by yourself, right? A to F, and then come back and watch this video so we can take it up. And then we'll do example 2, and then we'll move on. Okay? Example 2 just has fractions. All right, welcome back. So we're just going to distribute this 3 in. So maybe I'll make this 3, for consistency's sake, we'll leave it as an red, right? Plus, so every time you have a plus or minus sign, you got to add in your term again, because there's 2 terms there. 3 times 6. Right, so let's just go and simplify this. So 3 times 2x is going to be, there's only coefficients here that we can, and you're left with the x, plus 3 times 6 is going to be 18. So that's my answer. Okay, distribute this 8 in, right, and we'll just do it with this. Negative 8, 2x squared, then you have that subtract sign. And then we have, and I'm just going to make sure that this is in brackets. Then we have negative 8 again, times negative 4, right? Because there's a negative in front of it. So just be careful with that. So now we have negative 8 times 2x squared. So negative 8 times 2 is just going to be negative 16. X times 1 is just x squared, minus negative 8 times negative 4 is going to be positive negative 8 times 4. Oops, sorry, we're leaving this as a positive 4. So we have negative 8, because we put the minus up there. So we have negative 8 times 4, right? So it's going to be negative 8 times 4 is going to be negative, I believe, 36 or 32. So negative 32, right? Now we're just going to start doing our math. So I can drop the brackets on the first one, so it's going to be 16x squared. This positive, this negative, and this negative make a positive, so we're left with positive 32. And that's my answer. Okay. Moving forward, C. Now I have x squared on the outside, and it's going to be distributed into all of it. So I'm going to have x squared times x to the power of 5 plus, because I'm, dividing it with that plus, or separating it with that plus, x squared, and always make sure that your stuff is in brackets. X squared, right, 5, okay, so now I have x squared times x to the power of 5, right, because you're multiplying them, you can just add the exponents together, so I'm going to do x2 plus 5, plus x2 plus 2, x2 plus 5 is 7, plus x4, now, many of you might be tempted to collect these like terms. The reason you cannot collect these like terms is because there's an addition sign here. That means when there's addition sign, you cannot do anything else unless these two had the same exponent and the same base. Then you could add their coefficients. But because even though they have the same base, they don't have the same exponent, and it's an addition, not a multiplication, you can't do anything here. So you just leave it as is. This is the most simplified form of that answer. Okay, moving on, something a little bit more complicated. Oops, did I miss something here? Nope. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit more complicated. We're going to do 2x, 3x plus 6, right? Same idea, distribute it in. So I'm going to do 2x cubed times 3x plus 2x cubed times 6x, 6, right? And I'm just going to answer 2x cubed times 3x squared is going to be 2 times 3 is 6, x cubed times x is just going to be x to the power 4, plus 2 times 6 is 12, and then x cubed times 1 is just 1. Okay, and that's my answer. All right, now E, a little bit more complicated, but it's still the same thing, right? You're still working with the same type of understanding. Now you're just, you're doing a trinomial instead of a binomial, right? So let's just go put that in. So I'm going to say, okay, negative 4x5 times x cubed, right? And that's all in my little black bracket, minus, right? Because that's a minus there. Another black bracket, negative 4x5 times x squared. Another way you could look at this is you could put this as a plus and just put a negative here at the negative x squared. I sometimes look at it like that. It's completely up to you how you see it. I just look at it as, okay, this is negative 2 times negative 1, right? So it must be a positive at the end. That's how I see it. But it's completely up to you how you look at it. There's no wrong way to look at it. Okay? So, and then I have that positive there. And as long as you're using the black brackets, like, you're fine. You can do it whichever way you want. Okay? Because then you're just going to simplify the signs after anyway. Then I have negative 4. Make sure you're using the little black bracket to close this off. Negative 4 x5 times 2x. Right? So now I'm just going to go and simplify. Right? So I have 4 times 1. So negative 4 times 1 is just negative 4. x5 plus 3 minus negative 4 times 1, which is negative 4. x5 plus 2 plus negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Right, negative 4 times 2, x5 plus 1, right, so let's just go in. So negative 4 x5 bracket minus negative 4 x5 plus 2 is 7 plus negative 8x, oops, don't know why my 8 corrected to that, 5 plus 1 is negative 8, 6, x6. Now I'm just going to go and collect these terms. So I'm going to do plus and minus gives me a plus, so it turns to plus 4. Plus minus gives me 8. This is going to be minus 8 x 6. How I also like to look at negative numbers is I just change the signs inside. So this negative turned into a positive in the final solution, and this positive turned into a negative in the final solution. So you can look at it that way too. That's personally how I see it. If I have a negative sign, every positive turns into a negative, and every negative turns into a positive. Okay? Okay, so now we have 6x times 2x squared plus 3xy plus minus 5x. So this is a negative, it's a positive 6xy. So we can just leave all the signs the same. So we don't need to worry too much about signs here. Right, so I'm just going to go multiply 6xy times, I'm just going to do this in blue, right, 2x squared y plus 6xy times, and you can just put these in your own little black brackets, right, so you know which ones to do first. So you do 6x times 3xy, 6xy times 3xy close that bracket again, minus 6xy times negative 5, sorry, just positive, because we already put the negative up there, times 5xy cubed. Okay. Now let's go solve those little brackets by themselves before we can go do anything else. So 6xy times 2xy, so you're going to do 6 times 2, which is going to give us 12. X times x squared is going to give us x cubed. Y times y is y squared. And it is perfectly acceptable if you do it this way. You do not need to show it all like I did before. Right? You won't have time for that on a test or a quiz. So 6 times 3 is 18. And just make sure you leave these in your little closed brackets. Right? 18. XY. So x times x is going to be x squared. Y times y is going to be y squared. Right? And then you're left with minus 6 times 5 is going to give me 30. Right? 6 times 5 is 30. Just going to go in here and write this in blue. 30. X times x is x squared. Y times y cubed is y4. Right? And then just go simplify here. I'm going to say, okay, I have 12xy, x to the power of 3y squared plus, because it's a positive and a positive, we can leave the plus. Now, because it's a negative, we put in the negative. It's a negative and a positive, so we leave the negative. And that's the answer. Okay, and that is how you do that. So, same idea, but now we're just multiplying the fraction with everything. Okay, so let's do this. So the first one, we're going to put in negative 1 over 4 times 2x, right, minus negative 1 over 4 times 6. Oops. And honestly, this will become second nature to you, to the point where you'll just be multiplying it in your head. You won't even realize you're doing it. Right? So you have negative 1. Right? If you want to write this, you can just write the 2x over 1 as well. So you have negative 1 over 4 times times positive 2x over 1. So you're just going to multiply the numerators. Negative 1 times 2 is just negative 2. 4 times 1 is 4. And then you're going to leave the x there. Minus negative 1 times 6 is going to be negative 6 over 6 times 4 times 1 is just 4, right? Now you can reduce, right? So you're left with negative 2 over 4 is just going to be 1 over 2x minus plus minus is going to give me a positive. 6 over 4 is going to turn to 3 over 2 because you're just reducing. Okay, and that is your answer. Next, we're going to do 2 over 3. And it's just easier if you remember that this is all over 1, right? So now let's just distribute this in. So another way that I like to look at this is I honestly just do the distribution without even thinking about it. So sometimes what I'll do is, okay, what's negative 2 over 3 times 6x squared, right? Plus, I know it's a positive, it's a negative and a negative, so I know it's going to turn into a positive. Plus 2 over 3 times 2 over 1. And you don't have to do it this way. If it makes sense to do it without the brackets, that's fine. I have a negative and a negative, so that's going to change into a negative, right? It's going to be 2 over 3 times 9 over 1, right? So let's just do the math. Negative 2 times 6 is going to give me negative 12x squared over 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 3, minus 2 times 9 is 18 divided by 3, right? 12 divided by 3 I know is going to give me negative 4. x squared plus, remember that this was an x, so this 4x needs to be an x, plus 4x over 3 minus 18 divided by 3 is just going to be 6. So that's my final answer. Okay, that's just a shortcut that I use. It's my fastest way of doing stuff. You don't have to do it that way. You can write everything else out, but you're more than welcome to use that. So now we're going to say expand and simplify. You won't always have distributive property on just one term. You might have it on all the terms, right? So you might have something like this, where you have 2x, 2 bracket x plus 3, close bracket, plus 5, close open bracket, x plus 1, close bracket, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to expand each independently. So we went in and we said, okay, what's 2 times x? 2x. What's 2 times 3? 6. What's 5 times x? 5x. What's 5 times 1? 5. And then we went and collected like terms. So we added 5x plus 2x will give us 7x. And then you did positive 6 plus positive 5 equals 11. And that's how we got our final answer here. Okay? So how about you try to do some of these on your own, right? Let's do number A together, and you try B, C, D, E, F, and G on your own. Okay? So obviously I'm going to have us do this one together right now, but then pause the video. We'll do A and B together, and then pause the video and try to do the rest. So let's just do this. Let's deal with the first one. Negative 4 times 4x. I'm going to do this the quick way, right? Because this is a way that you should be aiming for. I'm not going to write everything out all over again. But this is the way you should be aiming for. This is how you should be aiming to get your work done. So negative 4 times 4x is going to be negative 4x squared. And then you're going to do negative 4 times positive 4 is also going to be negative 16, right? Plus 2x times x is going to be 2x squared. I'm just going to go in. And then 2 times negative 3 is negative 6x, right? We've now expanded these out. Let's go in and collect like terms. So we have 4x plus 2x. So negative 4 plus negative 2 is going to give me negative 2x squared, right? Then let's go back, collect our 16 and our 6. So negative 16 minus 6 is going to be negative 22. And that is, oops, and you need to make sure that this is an x here. So the 16, sorry about that, 22x. Okay, and that is the answer. It's going to make it so that's a nicer box. Alrighty. Same thing here. You're going to multiply the 5x into everything. So let's do that. So we have 5x times x, which is going to be 5x squared. 5x times 4x plus, because there's no negative, so plus 20. And then x times 1 is just 1. Plus x times x here is x squared. Plus x minus 1 is going to be, you're going to have to change the sign there, so it's going to become negative x. Right? So now let's just go collect our like terms. We have 5x squared and we have positive x squared. Right? So you can rewrite this. You can write it as 5x squared plus x squared. Right? And then I can take the positive 20x minus x. And if you want, I have no problem with you rewriting this. Minus x. Right? Let's go collect these like terms here. 5x squared plus 5x squared is going to be 6x squared. 20 minus x over here is going to be positive 19x. And that is my answer. Okay? So you try C, D, E, and F, and G on your own. So pause this video. I will come back and show you how to do it. Okay? So hopefully you pause that video, come back and rewatch this, right? So let's do this. So 3x times 3x is going to give us 3x squared. 3x times negative 1 is going to give us negative 3x, right? Negative 5 times x, negative 5x times x is going to give us negative 5x squared. And then negative 5 times negative 5x times positive 3 is going to give us negative. Negative 5 times 3 is going to be 15. X times itself, times 1 is just going to be 15x. Now let's go in and collect our like terms. We have 15x 3x, and I like to rewrite it, but if you don't want to, you can just collect right away. So let's just rewrite it. 3x squared minus 5x squared minus 3x minus 15x. And I rewrite it because then I always remember the signs, right? So 3 minus 5 is going to give me negative 2x squared, right? Negative 3 minus 15 is going to give me negative 18x. And I can't simplify this any further because it's addition, subtraction, and they're not like terms. D, we're going to do 3 times x, 3x, 3 times 4, positive 12, negative 1 times x, negative x, negative 1 times negative 3 becomes positive 3, right? So let's go collect our like terms. So I'm going to say 3x minus x plus 12 plus 3. 3x minus x is going to give us 2x. 12 plus 3 is going to give us 15. And that's my answer. And if we move on here, when you have a negative sign outside, just know that you just need to change every sign in the middle, in the bracket. So it's 8x minus 5x, 2x turns to negative 2x, 10x turns to positive 10. Okay? So then we're just going to go collect like terms. So we have 8x minus 2x, negative 5 plus 10. 8 minus 2 is going to give us 6x. Negative 5 plus 10 is going to give us positive 5. And that's my answer. Moving on. This one's a doozy. It's a lot. So if you don't keep track of your terms properly here, you are not going to get the right answer, right? So I'm going to do this step by step by step. And then the next one, I'm kind of take a shortcut, okay? But let's start off by making this red, the terms in front. So I'm going to make these ones red, okay? All right. So now I'm going to distribute this 3x in. And I'm going to make everything inside here blue, and then we'll make everything inside this one green. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm just going to write out 3x. There are 3 terms, so I'm just going to write out like these brackets for me. And then I'm going to write out the signs that I'm working with. So I have 3x, and it's minus 3xy. It's going to be times something. I'm just going to close this bracket here. Oops, I didn't want to close it in black. Close this bracket here. Plus 3x. 3xy. Right, let's close the bracket here because we multiply by something. Minus, right? 2xy 2xy times x squared. So I'm just going to close this again. Right? And then inside is minus 5x. It's also going to be, make sure it's negative 2xy. Right? Minus negative 2xy. Times. I'm just writing out a shell for myself. And you definitely don't need to do this. I'm just showing it so that it'll make solving it all easy at the end. Plus 4, right? So it's going to be plus negative 2xy and whatever that will be at the end. All right. So let's go put in our terms. So we have negative 3xy, and then we're going to be multiplying it by 2x squared. Right? Negative 3xy times negative 3xy. Right? So it's positive 3xy times negative 3xy, right? And then we have 3xy times 4. So negative 2xy now times x squared. Then we have negative 2xy times negative 5xy. Negative 5xy. Right? And then we have negative 2x squared times positive 4. And now let's just go in and individually solve this. 3x y times 2x squared is going to give us 2 times 3 is 6. X squared times x is x cubed. Y by itself. Right? And we're just going to solve that and leave it in its own little bracket. Minus 3x times 3 times negative 3 is going to be negative 9. X times x is x squared. Y times y is y squared as well. Right? Plus 3x times 4 is going to be 3 times 4 is 12. And then the x and the y just stay. Right? Minus the 2x y, right? So minus, I'm just going to put this in a bracket as well. Always make sure you leave your brackets. Minus 2 times 1 is just 2. X squared times x is going to be x cubed, and then y. Minus negative 2x squared, xy minus 5x. So let's do that. Negative 2x times negative 5 is negative 10, right? X times x is x squared. Y times y is y squared. And then last but not least, you have positive plus negative 2xy times 4. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, right? And then you have x and y. Right? So let's just go get rid of these brackets. So we're going to be left with 6x cubed y, a negative and a negative turn into a positive. So this becomes positive 9 squared y squared. Right? Oops, sorry. Because I had already left the minus, I don't actually need to put the minus here. So this stays as a minus 9x. 9x squared, right, plus 12xy minus 2x squared, x cubed y. This is a minus, so this turns into a positive 10x squared y squared. Positive and a negative turn into a negative, so it's 8xy. Right, now I'm going to go back and collect my like terms. So I'm going to collect one with blue. Oops, sorry about that. So blue, let's do this one. Is there any other one that's an x cubed y? X squared, y squared, xy, x cubed, y. Right there. Right? So let's write those in together. So we're going to do 6x cubed y minus 2x cubed y. Now let's go look for our next one. Let's look for something that's x squared, y squared. That's not it. This one is plus 10x squared y squared. So we're going to do this in pink. Negative 9x squared y squared plus 10x squared y squared. Then let's go find our last one. Positive 12xy. There's another xy right here, so let's do that one. So plus 12xy minus 8xy. So now let's just do this. 6 minus 2, because we're just dealing with coefficients at this point. 6 minus 2 is 4x cubed y. Negative 9 plus 10 is going to give me positive 1x squared y squared. And then 12 minus 8 is going to give me positive 4xy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my answer. Did it take a lot of work to get there? Yes, which is why it's important that you always use the right form. It's really easy to get lost with polynomials if you're not using the right form. Okay? So I'm going to do this a little shorter on this one, right? I'm just going to rewrite this so that I can actually show you how I'm going to do it. 2x minus 1. I'm just rewriting the same equation. For starters, I'm just going to go and simplify this, right? So let's just do that. 3x, 2x minus 1 minus 2x squared. 4 plus 1 is going to be positive 5 minus 7x. All right? Now, let's distribute stuff in. So let's do negative 3 times positive 3x times positive 2x is going to give me 6x. Positive 3 times negative 1 is going to give me negative 3x. Right? Let's move here. Negative 1 times negative 1 times positive 2 is going to give me negative 2x squared. Negative 1 times positive 5 is going to give me negative 5. And then I'm left with the minus 7x. I'm going to go in and collect my like terms. So I'm going to say, okay, so I'm left with the 6x. Is there another x somewhere? Yeah, there is. So 6 minus 7, right? 6 minus 7 is going to give me just x, right? Negative x, because 6 minus 7 is negative 1. Oh, and then I also had this 3x, right? Ooh, I have to be careful here. This is supposed to be 6x squared. Sorry, y'all. So I'm just going to go back and delete this. I actually made a mistake here. It should be 3x times 2x, which is 6x squared, right? So now that changes things. So I have this 6x squared. What can I go collect? Negative 2x squared, right? So let's do that. I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it as 6x squared minus 2x squared. Then I'm going to see, okay, do I have something else? I have a negative 3x, a negative 7x, right? So let's rewrite that. Negative 3x minus 7x. And then I'm left over with a 5. So let's just deal with our negative 5 over here. So I'm going to say, okay, 6 minus 2 is going to give me 4x squared. Negative 3 minus 7 is going to give me, I believe, negative 10, right? Negative 10x. And then I'm just left over with that 5, so I'm just going to write it in. There's nothing else to collect over there. Okay, and that's my answer. So that's kind of like how I do it. I kind of skip this whole step over here. I find very tedious. I hate doing it this way. But if you need to visualize and see the numbers, then that's fine. You can do it that way. I just hate doing it that way because my work gets very, very messy. Okay? And that is all. That's lesson 3. Do the homework questions. This is really important. So please, 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 if you do not understand distributive property, very important. It follows us throughout the quadmaster.